What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Squared Circle Addicts YouTube channel. It's me, your buddy Nessa, better known as Great Love 91 on the socials. It is a Saturday afternoon, and typically for wrestling fans on Saturdays, we would be gearing up for NXT Takeover. However, this time, Takeover takes place on a Sunday, which is tomorrow, which means today I am bringing you guys my NXT Takeover Portland predictions. But before we get into that, I want to say two quick things regarding All Elite Wrestling. Huge congrats to Nyla Rose for making history, or as they would say, herstory, by becoming the very first transgender woman to hold a world title, or not world title, but a women's title in any wrestling promotion. I mean, I could be wrong. I believe this is the first time for that, but if I am wrong, please correct me down in the comments below. But nonetheless, huge congrats to Nyla Rose. If you guys are people who watch my videos on a regular basis, out of the few AEW videos that I put out, one of them was actually me saying that I think it would be amazing if Nyla Rose would have became the very first AEW Women's Champion. That's what I wanted in the get-go. And obviously we didn't get that. Riho won the title, but it's really cool to see AEW putting the title on Nyla now. And personally, I think Nyla Rose versus Riho the second time around, or this time around, from last week, was way better than their first encounter on the very first Dynamite show, but that's just me. Also, in regards to All Elite Wrestling, there have been some controversial feelings going around on Twitter because people believe that Britt Baker is stealing the role model moniker from Bayley. I'll admit, I think it is a bit awkward that they're using the exact same word. I mean, the role model isn't copyrighted at all, right? But that would be like, say, someone like, I don't know, Mel or Chris Statlander or even Britt Baker calling herself the man when clearly Becky is already doing that. And I just think it's a little bit weird that Britt is doing it in the same time that Bayley's doing it. However, I think it's also in a weird way kind of cool because Britt Baker has went on record and said that Sasha Banks and Bayley and their match at Brooklyn is kind of like what inspired her to want to be a professional wrestler. So maybe it's like an homage to Bayley. Either way though, as a fan of both of them, I will say that I honestly don't mind either way. I love both the dentist and the role model. I love Bayley. I love Britt. They can both be my role models. It's fine with me. Just give them good matches, put them on TV, and quite honestly, I really do love this heel role that Britt Baker has taken on, and the same thing for Bayley. So congrats to both of them, honestly. And the last thing I want to mention about All Elite Wrestling is that the Nightmare Collective is no more. Thank God, because it was probably my least favorite thing in the women's division. It didn't make any sense to me. Apparently, Kong isn't really interested in wrestling right now, and apparently she's going to be filming season 4 of Glow. And I guess Mel and Brandy, I don't know. We'll see. I know Brandy said that she wants to leave the door open for Luther and Mel to figure out who they are in AEW, but honestly, I'm glad the Nightmare Collective is over, because they were the ones getting the most spotlight in the women's division, and to me it was a storyline that was just pointless. Just like for example, to compare the Rusev and Bobby Lashley and Lana and Liv. Like, that storyline died right away, thank God, and thankfully, same thing with Nightmare Collective here, it died right away before it could really do anything. So that's great. But enough about All Elite Wrestling, because you are here for NXT Takeover Portland predictions. Oh, this match card is stacked as always. I mean, that's every NXT card. But first match I want to talk about is the tag team title match between the Broserweights and the Undisputed Era. Of course, the Undisputed Era defending their titles against Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne after Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne won the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. Personally, if you guys know me, you know that I can't stand Matt Riddle, which is kind of funny because I am pro 420, so you would think someone like me would support someone like him, but I don't know. I think his gimmick or him as a person, because apparently that's just who he is, I don't know, it's a little bit overwhelming to me, and it's very like meatheadish, and it's just annoying, and it doesn't tickle my fancy. You know what I mean? He's a phenomenal wrestler, but I just can't stand his I don't know, his aura. I don't know. I just don't really like Matt Riddle. I don't like that he kind of is on this high horse. Like I said, don't get me wrong, he's an incredible athlete, but it just seems that he kind of disrespects the people that came before him. Granted, I'm not the biggest Goldberg fan or biggest Brock Lesnar fan, but he just seems to put his foot in his mouth a lot, and I don't necessarily like that all too much. However, Pete Dunne, I absolutely love him. You know, the bruiserweight Pete Dunne, that's my boy. So it's kind of weird because it's like it's a tandem of someone I can't stand and someone I love. So it's like this weird, awkward position. As far as the match goes, I really would love to see the Undisputed Era retain. However, I do think the Broserweights are going to win, and I don't necessarily know if I like that all too much because, again, it's a tandem that I'm unsure about in the first place. And then secondly, I don't think that a randomly put together tag team should be the one to defeat such a strong tag team like Undisputed Era. I much rather would have preferred if like grizzled young veterans would have won this tournament, or Imperium, or Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster. Shout out to NXT UK because their tag team division is great, but that's my point. I really wish a real tag team, if you will, would have won the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, because I believe it's 2 years in a row now where a makeshift tag team has won. Matter of fact, maybe like 3 out of the 4 years, because the first one was Balor and Joe, then it was Undisputed Era, I believe, and then it was Ricochet and Aleister Black, and now the Broserweights. So, I don't know, it's weird that they're using a tag team classic to highlight a randomly put together tag team, as opposed to a substantial tag team that's already been there. But, the Broserweights seem to be super over with the crowd, so I think the Broserweights are going to win. I don't necessarily like that, but I think that's what we're going to see, so I'm going to give that one to the Broserweights. The next match in discussion is for the North American Championship, as Keith Lee defends his championship against Dominik Dijakovic. Anybody who has seen these two wrestle before, whether it was in WWE or outside of WWE, you know that these two create magic together. They have a great chemistry, and two big guys, man, going at it, you know what I mean? And it's crazy because for their stature and their size, they can move in ways that men that size shouldn't be moving, but I think it's incredible, and I'm super looking forward to this match. Me, personally, I am more of a Dijakovic fan, but I do think Keith Lee will retain here, simply because he has been on a roller coaster of highs. He had the big showing at Survivor Series and the big showing at the Royal Rumble, and I do think that, I believe I read somewhere that Vince McMahon is very high on Keith Lee, so I don't see them taking the title off of Keith Lee anytime soon, so I will say Keith Lee will retain. The third match on the card is the first women match out of 2. Again, I don't know if this is the particular order that it's going to be in, but I'm just guessing, I guess. The match between Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox, former best friends. Dakota Kai betrayed Tegan Nox at War Games in November of last year, re-injuring her knee. I mean, this storyline has been incredible. Candice LeRae has had involvement in it. I don't know, it's just been really good, and I love when two best friends work together and you can legitimately see their chemistry. I don't know, I think it's incredible. I am actually a huge fan of both of these women, so again, WWE doing that thing where they're making me play Switzerland and putting my two favorites against each other. In fact, there's another match on the card that's that way for me, but we'll get to that. I love both of them. It's Tegan Nox getting that revenge from Dakota Kai, so it's the ultimate face versus the ultimate heel. Personally, I would be a-okay with whoever wins this match because, like I said, I love them both. However, I think the right decision here to be made is for Dakota Kai to go over, simply because since she's turned into a heel, since she joined the dark side, if you will, she hasn't really had that many wins. Yeah, she's beat the shit out of Tegan Nox, which is awesome, but nothing like has cemented her as far as wins go as a heel, as opposed to, except for last week or this past Wednesday, if you count her win over Candice LeRae. But other than that, she hasn't really had this steam that you need to build as a heel. So I think she needs this win way more than Tegan Nox does. But I am going to go with Dakota Kai defeating Tegan Nox. The next match on the card is, again, the second match of the card that makes me want to, play Switzerland and just kind of sit in the middle of the floor and enjoy myself, because this is going to be a treat for me. It's my top two male wrestlers scoring off against each other, Johnny Gargano and Finn Balor. Johnny Gargano, to me, in my opinion, is the new heart and soul of NXT. Before him, it was Bayley, and I don't think anybody has reached that, level of, belovedness from the crowd, and I think that definitely goes to Johnny. And then, of course, Finn Balor, he's one of the guys that, his name comes up when you think about who is responsible for the growth of NXT. So it's like, the new heart and soul of NXT to arguably the old heart and soul of NXT. Again, I love both guys. However, I do think that Finn Balor will benefit from this win more, because he keeps talking about his future becoming his past, or his past becoming his future, things like that. So I think, they're trying to build him up again as a credible wrestler. I mean, we all know that as fans, right? But the way that the main roster, or not the main roster, but the way that Raw and SmackDown built him as of late, you kind of forgot that Finn Balor was Finn Balor. Prince Fergal Devitt, and I think that's why it's awesome that he's calling himself the Prince again. So I think he's gonna get this win. My question is, will we see the Demon tomorrow night? Because usually he would always bring out the Demon on takeovers. So I'm actually kind of excited to see if we get something like that. Like I said, as much as I love my boy Johnny Gargano, I do think my other boy Finn Balor will take this win. The next match on the card is what I think should be the co-main event. It is the NXT Women's Championship match, as my girl Rhea Ripley defends her championship against the EST Bianca Belair. So the EST versus the Nightmare. I am so excited for this match as a wrestling fan, because the last time these two squared off, whether it be on a house show or NXT TV, they deliver great matches. Shout out to Moxie Molly and Joey Murberry from Ring the Bell. In their review show for this past Wednesday, they made a point that both Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, they kind of have a similar physique as far as strength, and they both look very intimidating. So to me, that alone makes this match interesting. I know for sure it's going to be a hell of a match, especially if given the right amount of time. It could quite possibly be match of the night. As far as who I think is going to win, and I know a lot of you are going to be like, you're biased, but biasly, I will say Rhea Ripley, just because I think that after Bianca Belair's showing in the Royal Rumble, a lot of people are like, yeah, put the title on her, yeah, and I wouldn't mind that, but not now, not till later. And the reason why is because Shayna Baszler had the championship for 563 days, something like that, or five something. I don't know the exact number. I know I should, shame on me, but I don't know the exact number. And she basically had the championship for the better part of in the entirety of 2019, pretty much. And her reign was so dominant, and then Rhea finally ended it, and that's why I don't think that Rhea Ripley should lose her championship on her very first televised title defense. To me, that makes no sense. She literally just destroyed Shayna Baszler, someone that nobody could destroy, and no disrespect to Bianca Belair, but Shayna Baszler has beaten her already, multiple times, and I think that if Bianca beats Rhea, the wrestling math, if you will, doesn't work in my head. I think Rhea needs a longer reign, especially, like I said, after defeating someone like Shayna. But I do think it is interesting that they're playing this whole, Rhea Ripley is overlooking Bianca Belair because she's too focused on Charlotte. And that's the thing. I think a lot of that storyline is going to come into play with this match. and I think that will ultimately determine who wins, because I've heard people wanting to speculate of Charlotte interfering and like kind of not really having a decision-winning match, and maybe possibly WrestleMania becomes a triple threat between Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, and Charlotte Flair for the NXT Championship, or Women's Championship, excuse me. And I know some people, are saying that they want to see Charlotte versus Bianca, and some people are saying they want to see Charlotte versus Rhea. I really don't know. If we see a triple threat, that's fine. If we see a one-on-one match, that's fine. Between either of them, obviously I prefer Rhea Ripley, but if it's Bianca versus Charlotte, that's fine. If it's Bianca versus Charlotte versus Rhea, that's fine. As long as Charlotte doesn't go over, I cannot stress that enough, because she doesn't need that win, and she doesn't need to be on NXT. Yes, NXT is looked at as the same way as Raw and SmackDown are, but Charlotte doesn't need that. A lot of people are like, well, Bianca Belair got eliminated by Charlotte at the Rumble, which leads me to believe, you don't need to win the NXT Women's Championship to feud with Charlotte Flair. I personally think they're just going to put Bianca on Raw. I think Portland will be her send-off match, and then she'll feud with Charlotte on Raw without a championship, because let's be honest, not all great feuds need a championship. So I definitely do think that that's what's going to happen, especially because, Montez Ford, one half of the Street Profits, Bianca Belair's husband's on Raw, and I think that's the direction we're headed. I think we're actually going to see Bianca on Raw. So that being said, Rhea Ripley to retain the NXT Women's Championship. Now, on to the main event, as Adam Cole, baby, defends his NXT Championship against Tommaso Ciampa, the Blackheart. Some people call him Daddy. I wasn't going to say that out loud, but some people do. He is looking to reclaim Goldie, the championship that he never lost. Adam Cole has been on a tear as NXT champion. Some people would argue that he is the best NXT champion in NXT's history. Again, I love both of these guys. I respect both of them. Personally, though, my heart belongs a little bit more to the Blackheart of NXT, Tommaso Ciampa. And I don't know, man, this one's hard because I feel like it can go either way. Because much like Keith Lee, Adam Cole had this huge, climb during Survivor Series weekend, and even the Rumble weekend. You had Cole defeat Daniel Bryan, you had Cole compete against Seth Rollins, you had him show up in the NXT Invasion. I mean, clearly WWE loves the guy, which is great. They should. He's awesome. But again, there's that story of Tommaso Ciampa never losing his championship, so maybe tomorrow is the night that he gets Goldie back. He keeps saying, Daddy's home, and, Daddy's gonna get his girl. Daddy's gonna get Goldie. So I don't know. For this one, it literally could go either way. Me, personally, I want Tommaso Ciampa to reclaim the championship. And honestly, I think that's what's going to happen. I think that Undisputed Era drops all the gold tomorrow. I think their prophecy comes to an end, sadly, and maybe that just means they'll be on the main roster. Who knows? Because I do know, I keep saying main roster, but I mean Raw or SmackDown. Because I do know that Tommaso Ciampa has vocalized the fact that he wants to stay on NXT forever. So I don't see him going anywhere, but I can't say the same for the Undisputed Era. I could definitely see them ending up on Raw or SmackDown. Maybe not anytime soon, but I definitely could see that being headed in that direction, especially because, like I said, the week that they had with the NXT Invasion and then the Royal Rumble and Survivor Series and all of that stuff. So with that being said, I am going to go for Tommaso Ciampa to reclaim Goldie, to bring Goldie back home where she belongs. But yeah, those are my NXT Takeover Portland predictions. Please share yours down below, or feel free to @me @GreatLove91 on Twitter. Let's keep this conversation going. I want to know, do you guys feel the same way I do? Do you feel different? These things are always fun to discuss. But I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Hope you enjoy TakeOver. And yeah, take care. Stay safe. But most importantly, stay addicted to the squared circle. Later, guys.